If you're going to be intentional as a homemaker, you need to know where exactly in your home you should be focusing your time and effort so that you can have the biggest impact. I'm going to show you what aspect of your homemaking needs more attention, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about the section called Vision in the 8 Foundations of Homemaking. Today's topic is called Where to Focus. This topic is so important because when you decide that you want to start living intentionally, you want to get your life in order at home, and you want to create a lifestyle at home for your family that everyone loves, it can feel really overwhelming when you look at everything in your house that needs to be taken care of and you don't really know where to start. So this topic is a great place to start when you want to get organized and focused and intentional with what you're going to spend your time and energy on. So the question we're really asking is, what are the struggles that you're currently having in your home with your homemaking, with keeping your life organized, and where out of all that list of struggles should you focus first? Step 1 is to make your struggle list. The struggle list is one of the things I did early in my homemaking journey that made a really big difference in helping me get clarity on exactly what the problems were in my home and help me see an actual concrete list of the things I could choose to focus on. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab a notebook or you're going to open up a notes app. I highly recommend using Google Docs. It's my favorite way to keep all my information and my notes organized. So whatever your preferred method is, if you like using paper, use paper. If you like keeping things digital, pull up your notes app. And what you're going to do is you're going to write out a title for your document, and it's going to be called Homemaking Struggle List. And on this list, you're going to brain dump and write out every single thing that you can think of that's making it difficult to keep up with the household management or things that are making homemaking not very fun for you right now. When you're thinking about what things to put on this list, you're going to want to consider what areas or aspects of your home management are the most dysfunctional. Maybe you don't have a good cleaning schedule, or maybe you have a specific room in your house that's so disorganized and so cluttered that it's just not functional for your family. Think about what specific homemaking tasks are causing you the most stress every day. There are no wrong answers. You really want to put as many ideas as you can on this struggle list, because then you're going to be able to find some common themes that all of these struggles connect under. Okay, I'm going to give you an example of the homemaking struggle list that I personally wrote for myself about 7 years ago when I decided I was going to get my life in order and I knew just my life was chaotic. And I did this process where I brain dumped everything that was annoying me and causing me problems and making homemaking a lot harder. So let me show you some of the things I have on this list. And this is nothing fancy. It's really just a simple Google document. I titled it Homemaking Struggles List, and I just made a numbered list where I just put all of the things out on here. So on my homemaking struggle list, some of the things that I included were clutter being everywhere in my house. You would walk through my home and there were toys all over the floor. There was just junk and clutter covering like the tables and the dressers and the nightstands, and it was honestly just everywhere, all over the coffee table and the couch. It was just clutter everywhere. I also had piles of clean laundry sitting in the corner of my bedroom almost every single day. I was able to keep up with the washing and drying pretty well, but my family, when they would need to get dressed for the day, my kids would come in the bedroom and they would dig through these clean bags of clothes that I never took the time to fold and put away, and they would just try to pull their wrinkled outfits out of the bags. It was terrible. I did not have a good system for keeping up with laundry. I was also just mentally exhausted with constantly having to figure out what to make for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I had no organization at all with meal planning. We were all just like running around at the last minute, sometimes like 6 or 7 o'clock, trying to figure out what we wanted to do for dinner. And because we had no groceries prepared and no menu planned, we would just often go out and grab Taco Bell or some sort of fast food. It was terrible. It was so stressful. And I also had dirty dishes always overflowing out of my kitchen sink. I did not have any good habits or routines established. Eating fast food all the time had me feeling yucky. There were dark brown and red paint colors all over the walls of our house, and that was a huge negative effector on my mood. So this bedroom used to be a really, really dark chocolate brown color, but my personal style and aesthetic is a bit brighter and more airy. So the brown, I realized, was making me wake up every day and feel really heavy, and it felt really like oppressive and dark, and it was hard to wake up and be motivated to start the day when it was such a sleepy color. And our hallway also had like this glossy red. It was awful. There were just paint colors all around the house that were just not my style at all, and they made me feel stressed. So I knew that that definitely needed to go on the list. I was also struggling to clean. Just in general, I was overwhelmed, not only because I had clutter everywhere, but because cleaning itself was overwhelming to me, because I tend to be more of like a highly sensitive person. So I'm easily overwhelmed with things that are very sensory in nature, especially like negative sensory, like the dust and just the grime. It was overwhelming to me. Also, we had outdated home features that felt ugly to me. One example was our dining room chandelier. I did not like the style. It was like a really heavy, bronzy, like Italian Baroque, intricate type thing. And my style leans more simple and minimalist and clean lines. So I just, in general, had a hard time feeling motivated to do things around my house because I just didn't like the way my house looked. So that definitely needed to go on the list. Cooking was intimidating to me, working with raw chicken, especially, and just in general, I did not have a lot of skills with cooking, so that was intimidating. I felt tired every day. I didn't love the decorations that I had, but I didn't know if I really had the money to buy new ones. I've always been a little bit more frugal, so because I wasn't keeping track of my money and what we were spending on different categories in our budget, I didn't really know if I even had any extra money to start buying new decorations. There were toys everywhere. My kitchen was dirty all the time. I hated cleaning it. My husband's stuff was always lying all over the place. He had no organization for where to put things. I was just asking him to go put stuff away, but he didn't really know where it was supposed to go. And I also had a lot of difficulty balancing my time. This was a huge one for me because when I decided that I was going to start getting my life in order, I was running a wedding photography business at the time, and it was very successful, but it was requiring me to spend a lot of my weekends doing the pictures for either weddings or engagement sessions or families. And then during the week is when I would spend a lot of my time doing the editing for the photos and running other aspects of my business, like doing my photography blog. So trying to balance my wedding photography business while also managing the home was making things very difficult. So I knew that management of my time was one of the biggest factors in me not being able to keep up with everything. So when you make your own homemaking struggles list, it can be literally anything. There's no right or wrong answers. You can put something as simple as, I don't like my dining room chandelier, or you can put something as big as, there's just clutter everywhere. So when you're thinking through your day, try to imagine yourself going through a typical day and think about all the actual tasks and activities you do. And if you get to a point where you start to feel that's really stressful when I do that, think about why that's stressful and write that struggle down. Step 2 is to choose the main struggle on your homemaking struggle list. This might seem hard at first, especially if you have a big long list, but what I want you to do is look for the themes. So if you look at the list that I showed you, you can see how some of the items that I've listed relate to each other. For example, clutter everywhere is also similar to struggling to clean, and also toys being everywhere, and maybe even like the kitchen being dirty all the time. Because when I think back to how my kitchen was dirty all the time, a lot of it had to do with clutter kind of always being in there, which made it harder to clean the kitchen as well. Also, there are some similarities with constantly having to figure out what to make for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That is similar to eating fast food all the time. It made me feel yucky, and I felt like my health was not in a great place, and it made it harder for me to do a good job with my homemaking. That's also similar to cooking being intimidating because I didn't have a plan for the meals. I wasn't really practicing cooking, which led to us eating more fast food. And this also relates to me feeling tired every day. I know for certain, and I knew at the time too, that my diet was a contributor to me feeling tired every day. So I want you to go through your list, and I want you to start connecting the items that relate to each other until you get your main themes. So for me, what stood out were my main themes being general clutter being an issue in my house, me not having any sort of system or plan for meal times for my family, and then general like time management, which was like with balancing my time, having good routines for getting ready for the day and dealing with laundry. So general like time management. And then also just the aesthetic of my house was making me feel depressed and unmotivated. Those were the big themes that really stood out to me. So I want you to go through your list, find what the themes are. And then when you have those themes, you can identify which one of these themes is my main struggle, which one is causing me the most stress every single day. That is the one that you're going to want to focus on first. On the struggle list, you can circle it or you can highlight it. You're just going to have it stand out so that you know, okay, with being intentional with my homemaking, this is the one aspect that I'm going to create a plan for tackling and improving in my homemaking. By the way, if you want to get into all of the topics that I cover in the 8 Foundations of Homemaking, not just in Vision, but all 8 of them, you can download my intentional homemaking guide in the description below, which is going to take you into all the different topics that relate to the different aspects that you can focus on with your homemaking. So when you pick this struggle on your struggle list, it's actually going to relate to a topic in one of the other 8. So if your struggle is clutter, you're going to want to jump to the organization section in the 8 Foundations of Homemaking and look at the topics that I cover in that section. If your struggle is food and meal times for your family, you're going to want to jump to the food section in the 8 Foundations of Homemaking. So I have all different topics that I cover to help you get your life in order, so you can check it in the description below. Step number 3 is to write out the action steps that you're going to take in order to tackle this struggle with your homemaking so that you can improve it and it can become an aspect of your homemaking that's actually fun and enjoyable and efficient and helpful. So in addition to just maintaining our daily homemaking tasks, you're going to want to set aside some time every day to focus on improving your homemaking. And that is where this struggle is going to come into play. You're going to want to pull up another document or take out another piece of paper, and you're going to write down small actionable steps that you can take to make improvements on this area of your homemaking. For example, my main one I knew for sure was clutter. I was having a hard time even walking around my house. I couldn't take care of anything, and I felt very depressed and overwhelmed with all the clutter because I'm easily visually overstimulated. So I knew clutter was the thing I needed to focus on. So on my list, my plan of action list, I wrote out every single room in my home. And then under every single room, I wrote out the different zones in the room that I could start decluttering and organizing in order to deal with this issue of clutter in my house. So whatever struggle you chose, take another sheet of paper and write out small steps that don't feel overwhelming. If a step feels too overwhelming, then you probably wrote a step that's too big. You're going to want to break that down into even smaller steps so that you have a list of the actions you can take that you know for sure are going to get you from point A to point B. Once you have this plan of action, now the focus becomes on the discipline of making progress on this goal every day so that you know, okay, me taking this small step is actually working towards a specific goal, and I know 100% that my homemaking is going to improve because I'm making progress and I know what these steps are that I need to go through. I found for myself that it is a lot more motivating when I know that I'm not just randomly doing tasks around the house. I actually have a plan. I know exactly what homemaking struggle or improvement I'm working on, and I know that the step that I'm doing that day is actually moving me closer to my end goal. As an intentional homemaker, when you think about where you are now and where you want to be, this is the way to do it. It's not just theoretical, oh, I'd love to be a homemaker. You are actually putting concrete, practical actions to your vision so that you know exactly how to get from where you are now to where you want to be. After you've worked through this struggle and you've completed all the steps on your action plan, Step 4 is going to be to return to your list and then choose the next area of homemaking that you're going to focus on. This is exactly how I started getting my life in order after I went through all of the rooms of my house and I did some general decluttering and organizing, and I felt like my house was lighter and there wasn't as much clutter anymore, and I could actually see myself being able to do things comfortably in my home. I went back to this struggle list that I created and I looked at the themes that I had pulled out of it, and then I decided to go to the next item on my list that was causing me the most stress every day. And that was definitely the mealtime issue. That was the meal planning. And that is when I created my seasonal meal planning system, which I will go into in other videos. But the key is to keep this struggle list where you can reference it again, because when you went through this brainstorming and brain dumping process, this is gold. Like, you do not want to lose this information. You want to be able to have this so that you know this is like a greater vision that you have for making progress in your homemaking. And you can cross off what you've completed and then go to the next one. And this is how you actually have intentionality and goals on how to improve your home and your lifestyle at home. This method is so important for homemakers who feel very, very overwhelmed in general with their home. If you're wanting to approach homemaking from like a ground up situation and you want to build a really good foundation with your homemaking, you're brand new, and if you have like a lot of areas in your home that feel chaotic and cluttered and stressful and you just really don't know where to start, nothing stands out to you, and it just feels like life is a chaotic mess all around, this is the method that you need to use. By focusing on one thing at a time, this is how you strengthen your homemaking skills. It can be really tempting to want to dabble in a lot of different areas to try to like do some of the easy tasks here and there, but when you just commit to being intentional with one struggle you're having, creating a plan and having a specific concrete visual goal, going through those steps, and actually being successful with an area of your homemaking, that's how you get stronger as a homemaker and you actually see real progress that you can build on over time. Let me know in the comments what area of homemaking you think is the biggest struggle for you in your life right now. Which thing is causing you the most stress every day? I'd love to see what themes you have going on so I can include some tips for working on these areas in some of my other videos.